Good morning. This is Kelley Hobart from Alpaca Direct, and I'm here today looking at this cute little sweater that I've been working on. It is called the Colorwork Cardigan. It's by El Oasis Della Maglia, and you can see here, it looks like, can you see it like that, Jim? Can you see it? Yeah. So that's the sweater I've been working on. And I thought I would turn a new leaf and try to use some Comfort DK. And so here's my little sample that I have here. And it's still a work in progress. Let's see here. Can you see it in here? Do you see how one side is really straight and the other side's a little bit curled? I did steam blocking on that. So, and I didn't really do the back so much. I did more the front. And by steam blocking, what I mean by that is I took the cardigan and put it on my ironing board, and then I wet a towel. I got a towel nice and warm water on it, and then wrung out the excess water and doubled it over and laid it on top of the cardigan. And then I took my steam iron that has a steam button on it and just didn't actually put the iron all the way down on the sweater, but just held it just above it and just steamed it just a tiny bit without actually putting the iron down on the acrylic. And it's working really well. You can see how this one side, it goes down a little bit in the front. And so when I put the button band on, I believe that that's going to pull that right back up, and we'll see that on a future Technique Tuesday, because I want to talk about button bands next week. So this is the front and this is the back.
So
and
people are saying good morning.
Good morning. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to have you here. And I don't usually work with acrylic, and I'll tell you, this Barocco Comfort DK, which is 100% acrylic yarn, you can see, look at it, how nice it is. It doesn't have any shine to it, and it's so soft when you use it. Could you see it, Madeline? Yeah. So it's a great quality acrylic for babies, and it's machine washable. What's not to love about that? So anyway, I'm having a great time with this sweater. I started it on Sunday, and it's the second to largest size. So I have done quite a bit on it, for considering I just started it. And so for the prize for this week, every week we offer a prize, and the way that you get entered to win for the prize is you post comments in the comment section. Let us know what you're working on. If you have a lovely pattern, don't forget to put the name of the pattern and the name of the designer so that we can look at it too, and maybe we can make it along with you. We always love learning about new projects that we could work on. So here was the yarn that I wanted to use for our prize for this week, in either pink or gray, and it's Plymouth Encore. And what it is it's an acrylic wool blend. And I'm really curious to see how this yarn is going to act differently than this yarn. So stay tuned, because what I want to do is do another one of these little sweaters and see what it looks like, see what the difference is when it's actually constructed. Have you guys ever done that before? Have you ever experimented with a sweater that you love and then made it in different, using different types of yarn to see how it looks differently?
So what
I don't know.
Are going to vote on?
Pink or gray. Pink or gray are the colors for the prize. But yeah, so I'm excited to experiment with that and see what the difference is. But I'm really liking the Comfort DK. It's a great yarn. And we have a coupon code for that, for the Encore yarn, for the prize for this week. And we have a coupon code that's 10% off today only. And we're doing that every week now. So if you haven't seen that before, it's a new thing that we're doing. Every time we feature a yarn for the giveaway, we'll also have that yarn on 10% off, just in case you wanted to get more of it. It's a great time to do it. You get an extra little 10% off if you use the coupon code. And the coupon code for today is TT628. So that's the code to get 10% off Encore. And Plymouth Encore is awesome. Yeah, Plymouth Encore is considered like a workhorse yarn. It's been around forever and it washes up great. I know I've done baby blankets and all different kinds of things with Encore. And it's wonderful once you wash it. So today what I was thinking is we could take a look at our sleeves. And I want to show you 4 tricks to create perfect sleeves on your knitted sweater. Just simple tricks that I use that make my sleeves come out better.
What are the things that are problems sometimes with sleeves?
Well, sometimes when you're doing sweaters, if you look underneath the arms, there's gaps and you have to do seaming. Have any of you out there had that problem where you have to do seaming underneath the arms and you find holes when you go to pick up your stitches? Well, I wanted to show you how I do it. Maybe you can learn something from the way that I do it. Maybe 1 or 2 of these tricks will work for you and you can create better sleeves on your sweaters. And it's not just sleeves, it's gussets in socks, in when you're doing the heels. It's anything where you're picking up stitches can be improved by these little techniques that I use. And so let's take a look at it. I'll show you the one that I already did, and then I'll start doing the next one with another part of the yarn. So if you look here, I'm doing the magic loop method. You know how much I love doing the magic loop method. So let me just unwind my yarn here so you could see. So this is the sleeve. And the first thing to think about when you're doing sleeves of your sweaters is that when you're doing a smaller circumference, sometimes your tension gets tighter, especially when you're using the magic loop method. So if that should happen to you, jump up a needle size. So when I do my sleeves, if I'm knitting with a 4, I will be doing a number 5 on the sleeves. And if it seems like it's still too tight, then I will jump up again and even use a larger needle, because I'll tell you, when you change needle sizes, for me, I don't notice the difference. There's no visible mark or anything that shows that you're doing something different. So I want you to notice first here on the sleeve that I have the beginning of the round, the loops for the magic loop method are not right underneath the middle of the arm. Right here is the center of my underarm at the beginning of the round. And I purposely don't put the beginning of the round right there because when you're doing the magic loop method, you run the risk of having ladders right here. Okay? But if you don't put the beginning of the round right there, it's not going to cause more issues here than what you already have. Do you see what I mean? So that is really helpful if you just change the orientation of where you have these loops. So I have one of my loops is on the top of the shoulder. And you can see here it looks good. And then the other loop is underneath the arm. I mean, excuse me, it's to the side of the underarm, towards the back of your cardigan. Okay, so that makes it really super nice. And then what was the other thing? Oh, what I like to do is when I'm picking up stitches, I pick up every single stitch that I can. And then if I have to decrease it, then I'll decrease it on my first round of knitting. Do you know what I mean by that? And that way I don't have, because usually you pick up 3 stitches for every 4 rows of knitting, and that one that you would skip would make like a funny little mark. So rather than make that funny little mark on my pickup, I just pick up every single stitch, and then if I have to do knit 2 togethers for a couple stitches, so be it, then I shall do that. But at least my pickup is even and straight, like right here on this.
Does it make a line?
Well, this makes a line because of there was a row of knit stitches right next to it, so it makes a line. Let's see if on the inside what you got. Now, mind you, I haven't mended anything or changed anything. I have not done anything whatsoever to the work. Okay, so in here you can see that I was picking up along some knit stitches, and this was a different edge. It was kind of a more of an edge like this, like along here. So it's when I pick up the stitches right here on this part of the sweater, it's not going to look quite as nice as it will when I pick them up along here with the straight. You'll see this straight knit line on the inside of the sweater. But neither here nor there. You can pick up the stitches wherever you want. You just want to make sure that I like to pick up everyone. And then one other thing that I do when I pick up stitches, I take a needle that is, if I'm knitting with a 4, I'll pick up with 3s. I'll pick up with a smaller needle. This is why you have to own a yarn store and you have to have lots of needles. Because you need them. Because when you go to do your pickup, can you see that if I'm picking up stitches along here and the loops are bigger, they're going to stand out more and leave more of a gap. Where if I use a smaller needle along the edge, it closes everything in a little better and leaves less gaps. So I like to pick up with smaller needles, and then when I get like underneath the arms, I was supposed to pick up 8 on this side and 8 on this side. So after I get done with those 16 stitches, then I just leave this, and then I pick up my regular needle, like, you know, I'll show you. I would pick up my regular needle and start knitting. So let me show you how you do it. So when you, in this pattern, she has you take some stitches and put them on scrap yarn for the sleeves, right? It's just for the top of the sleeves. So what I like to do is I just go along with my needle, and this is my regular needle, but you could use a smaller needle, but because we're going to pick up with size 3 and then knit with a size 4, it's probably just fine to pick up with a size 4. I'm not having any problems picking this up. So I pick up all my stitches all along, and when you get to that last stitch that is on the scrap yarn here, you got to make sure you actually pick up the very last stitch, because sometimes it gets buried in the yarn, and I'll show you what I mean in just a minute here. So I have, like, I don't know, this is 32 stitches that I'm picking up, and you might want to count it too if you're unsure of what your stitch count is, or unsure if you picked all of them up. And see this very last stitch, sometime it can fade into the work, and so you've got to make sure to take that strand and get that very last loop on there. So now they're all on there. And you see, when I put mine on scrap yarn, I tied a knot so it doesn't come undone. And you could do that with yours. I've had it before where I put it on scrap yarn and the stitches are slowly coming off of the scrap yarn, or the scrap yarn itself is getting tangled with my working yarn, and it's sort of a pain. So tying it in a knot like that makes it so it doesn't get caught. So I know, in my pattern tells me that I have 8 stitches I need to pick up from here to here, and then 8 stitches from here to here. And you could see these large loops right here? These loops right here are going to be a problem, because we don't want to pick up a loop that's that big, because see how it's going to leave a hole? Do you see the hole underneath the needle? How loose that is? Yeah, so you don't want that to happen. So keep that in mind when you're picking up. And also on this one right here, you see there's a purl bump right there. And then right here is the very first knit stitch. That's where you want to start. Don't go into these things in here. That's just going to cause issues. Okay, and so what I wouldn't do my beginning of the round right here, because when I talk in my thing, stress points, right here is a stress point, right here is a stress point right in the bottom, and then over here on this, what I mean by stress point is, do you see how the yarn is getting stretched right here? Yeah. Those are all stretch points. So when you're doing the beginning of the round for your sleeve, don't do it there. I mean, offset it, put it over here, or this side would be better to put a beginning of the round than this side, but you can put it wherever you want, I guess. it would probably be better to have it on this side because these stitches are smaller and they're closer together and it wouldn't cause a problem so much. So what I like to do when I know I'm going to do 8 stitches and 8 stitches, what I will do is I'll grab 2 little stitch markers so that I know when my 8 stitches for each one. Actually, yeah, I'll leave this one with no stitch marker because I got a loop right here to mark where I'm going to be doing the pickup, right? And then I'm looking for my smaller, I don't know if I have. I was looking to see if I had smaller needles, but maybe I don't. Okay, so normally I would use a needle one size smaller to do the pickup, but I'm going to show you just with doing your regular needle size. So you can do it. So you got to find the end of your yarn. Lordy bee, I'm always fighting the yarn. Sorry, Madeline, I didn't mean to bump you. I bumped Madeline just now. Accident. So my very first stitch that I'm going to pick up is going to be, see how these knit stitches, each one of these is a knit stitch. And it's going right up. So what I want to do is find one that's kind of close to the top here, but actually has some stability to it. So I'm going to leave myself a tail. And I want my tail to be 6 or 8 inches because if I have anything that needs to be mended here, I want to mend it with my tail. So leaving yourself a little bit of tail is a good plan. Okay, and then you'll see me roll my work. Do you see how I just rolled that like that? So we have 1, and then I'm trying to pick up 2 of the bars. 2. And I'm just looking. I want to go right underneath here. 3. But I actually have to take that out because what it did is it got a strand of the other stitch on it. There. And you want to kind of look and see how your line is going along. 4, 5. See these little knit bars, the knit stitch bars, Madeline? Do you see that's what made those?
Oh, gotcha.
So 3, 6.
And what are you working on? What is this?
This is picking up stitches for underneath the arm.
Oh, okay.
And what you're doing is you want to kind of keep that line in there. And this, what I'm saying is this little bar right here, it might create a little bit. You also want to think about what kind of hole it's going to create too.
So
Do you
staying
see
away
how?
from the stress points?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I've been going along that line right up in here, and then it's going to jog down. I think I have to jog down to make it go. Either that or I could go right into that. Sometimes you got to experiment and see. Do you see how that's like that?
Yeah.
So 2, 4, 6, 8. Now I have 8, and this is where you could use a stitch marker and mark that so you know that you have 8 stitches. Boing. We don't want that top one. This one up here is not going to be the beginning of the round. And I'm just going to leave this here for 1 second, and then I'm going to change the beginning of the round. Now, on this side over here, I have to change this again because remember how I said these loops right here are too big. They will leave a big kind of a gaping hole. So what I kind of need to do is come down to where I can get some more stability and and I can actually leave this top strand and not pick it up in the let's see. Oops. I want to see if I can get, maybe I can grab that strand right there.
Does that tighten it up?
That's what I'm trying to do. And you might have to experiment, you know. It's not a perfect science. It's trying to see what you can do to make it so that the picked up stitches are nice and tight. And you saw me, I just gave it a little tug from the back needle to make sure that my strand of yarn is nice and tight. Now let's see, we have this strand, we have that strand, and then this strand. And so we will just go like that maybe and see what that looks like. You saw on my pickup on the one side where it was a little more, showed a little bit more than the other side. This is the side that it's going to show just a little bit more. And you want to minimize it, but you know, you may not be totally be able to prevent all of it from being absolutely perfect. 3. So I'm trying to keep along that same line. And let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I'm going to take a look in here and see if there's anything else that I need to pick up or if I've picked it up. And you know what? It looks really good. What I don't want to do is I don't want to pick up anything in here in the center of that one. I want to leave it like that. And that looks really good. And so what I'll do now is this is the top of the shoulder. I'm going to create a new loop. Okay. And what I'm going to do is just knit a little bit more up to the top here. And then I'll create another loop, fix this loop on this side. Yep. And then you just start knitting. These are the stitches that I picked up, and it's just going to be stockinette stitch. But I can tell you from experience, for some reason, when I'm knitting the magic loop method and I'm knitting my sleeves, my tension gets tighter on the actual sleeve. The smaller the circumference, the tighter my tension will get. So I have to keep that in mind. And you don't want to make your whole sweater so that your sleeves are tight. That's the last thing that you want. And you know what some people do is for the sleeves, they will actually pick up more stitches. Say they're knitting a medium sweater, they'll knit the sleeves of a large sweater of large size so that they have more room in the arms. And I think that's a grand idea. I like that idea. So now on this one, remember that was kind of in a stress point. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to make the loop over here. Doing. And then I'll just leave that stitch marker because it's right in the center between. This will actually be my beginning of the round, but the split for my magic loop method is 3 stitches away from the beginning of the round. So then I picked up all my stitches and I'm ready to just continue on knitting. And I haven't knit a complete round yet. Let's just knit just a tiny bit more so we can see what we're doing here. And I don't know if any of you guys, do you do the magic loop method and do both of your sleeves at the same time? I may do mine. I've done it both ways. Sometimes I find it's easier just to do one sleeve at a time. What do you guys think? Do you guys do one sleeve at a time or 2 sleeves at a time so you don't have to count rows? Rounds, shall I say. So on here, this is where I first did that pickup, right? You can look right in here and see if you think that it looks kind of a little tiny bit gappy right there, right? So what I could do is do this, do a slip as if to knit. Did you see how I did that? I picked up, ta-da, like that, and did a slip as if to knit. Actually, this one I would do a knit 2 together so that I could take those 2 stitches and put them together. And that will help you close up a gap too. That's another way to close up a gap. So I'm tightening my tail so you can see what I've just done. What I've done is made the gap smaller by picking up a stitch below the right hand needle. And you could do that. Or let's see if Where is my, doink. See if I can go back here. Oop. Okay, where's my stitch below? Let me drop that off. Doink.
A lot of people saying that they only knit one sleeve at a time.
Yeah. Oh, too much, huh? Way too much. Okay, let's go back. Oh, these were my picked up stitches. I got it. Where's my working yarn? Working yarn. Okay. Yeah, so this was the one where I picked that up below. You could just take this strand of yarn and just knit over to here. But I don't know if you can see it. Do you see how there's a little tiny bit of a gap there? That stitch going to be a little bit, okay, let me pull on the tail. Do you see how it's going to pull and it's going to leave a little tiny bit of a hole there? I kind of like having that one be a, yeah. I kind of like the bringing a stitch over. Oh, we could also do this. You can do a stitch below on the left-hand needle, and that'll bring it up. There. See, sometimes you just have to experiment with what looks good. But what you're trying to do is when you're doing it, do you see how that looks better? I like that one. So, there. See how they look like knit stitches now? That'll be very little mending. That'll be nice. And instead of picking up the bar below the right-hand needle, I picked up the bar below the left-hand needle. And let's scoochy this in so you can see it. See how these ones are a little bit loose there? But by if you use a smaller needle, you can actually decrease the size of that. And I'll show you on this over here where it is. Right here. See these stitches right here? Those stitches are these stitches, but just done one needle one size smaller. Do you see how that's a little bit bigger? It's done on the same size of needle. So if you did it with one size needle smaller, it just seems to kind of close things up better. But you kind of got to experiment with it and see what you like, what works for you. Sometimes on any given sweater, sorry, my eye's tearing. Sometimes on any given sweater, I might have to use a different technique. It depends on what you're doing and how it looks at the time. But this sweater really is cute. See how cute that is? And I love the acrylic yarn. So let's see who the winner is for this week. Anne Barron. Yay! Was this a winning color? Purple. Got it. Yay! You will love this Kabasi DK, Anne. It is wonderful. And it is a 55% cotton, 16% bamboo, 21% elastic, and 8% silk. And it's a great yarn for knitting for summertime projects. So I think you'll really like that. All you have to do is get in touch with us at customer service at Alpaca Direct, and we just need your shipping address, and we can get that out in the mail to you. And for those of you who want to sign up for today's project, winning yarn is the gray or the pink, and it's Encore by Plymouth. And you just post comments in the comment section to be entered to win. And the discount code for today is for Plymouth Encore, and it's TT628. 10% off for today only. Yes, that's awesome. And so next week, I had, oh boy, I wrote down a bunch of things that we can go over. But it's amazing how on a little tiny baby sweater, how much you can learn. I was thinking about easy techniques for a stable button band. And then comparing different types of one-row buttonholes. And we already talked about steam blocking acrylic, which is wonderful, and how to make a sleeve cap on a sweater. So you can make a kind of a cap that goes over the sleeve that makes the sleeve come down a little bit more. But isn't this cute? It's so cute. I love it. So you guys have a great week, and I will see you next Tuesday.